What does it mean to be African in a world that still sees your life as negotiable? It means you can be kidnapped in your own homeland and your leaders hesitate to act. It means foreign nations will shout louder for their citizens than our governments whisper for ours. It means the blood of our ancestors still waters the soil. Foreign agendas reap the harvest. This is not just about 3 Indian workers kidnapped in Mali. This is about what happens when African nations are trapped between old betrayals and new battles. When we face terror with no shield and offshore powers still pull the strings. But Mali is no stranger to resistance. From the empire of Sundiata Keita to the defiance of Modibo Keita, this land has stood before empires and buried them. So today we ask not just who will rescue their hostages, we ask who will rescue the dignity of a continent still being treated like collateral. This is the Sahel, and this is the front line of Africa's unfinished liberation. 3 Indian workers were kidnapped in Mali. India responded with force, fury, and demands. But when Africans are killed in foreign lands, nobody moves, nobody speaks, our lives are discounted. Today we break down a story that stretches from Mali to Libya, from Gaddafi's vision to the classrooms of Niger. And we ask, why is it that when we speak for ourselves, they call it rebellion, but when we stay silent, they call it peace? Let's break it down. In June 2025, 3 Indian nationals working at a diamond cement factory in Mali were abducted in a terrorist raid. The attackers didn't just target civilians, they hit military zones, factories, and government posts all at once. A calculated move. The group behind it? Well, Jama'at Nasrul al-Islam wal Islamin, the Janim, a rebel faction linked to years of chaos in Mali. Now, here's the twist. Within 24 hours, India's Ministry of External Affairs was already on Mali's back, right? They said, act fast, secure our people, or face the consequences, right? Or else. These are powerful words. Immediate pressure, zero hesitation. But let me ask you, if 3 Africans were abducted in India, will any African government say the same? Will they send threats? Will they demand rescue? Or will we just hold a press conference? India's reaction showed what power looks like when it's backed by self-respect. So again, what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong for our lives to feel so negotiable? We must now understand this crisis didn't start in June, by the way, right? Or even in Mali. The chaos has a name, Libya. See, back in 2011, Libya wasn't a war zone. It was a model, right? Under Gaddafi, Libyans received free education and healthcare, state-funded housing, grants for marriages and agriculture, and sovereign dignity. And Gaddafi had a vision for Africa, a gold-backed currency, a continental satellite, and a united African defense force. It was dismantled bomb by bomb, lie by lie. The result? Weapons spilled from Libya into the Sahel. Militants armed by freedom fighters became terror groups. And Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, well, they inherited a war they never started. So when terrorists strike in Mali today, don't just blame the fighters on bikes. Blame the pipeline of chaos that was lit when sovereignty was burned in Tripoli, right? There's a double standard, right? Who fights for Africans abroad? When Indians were kidnapped in Mali, they got official statements, diplomatic threats, and full government follow-up. But when Africans are abused in India, silence. We've seen stories. African students harassed, beaten in Indian cities, right? Black patients turned away at hospitals. Racism rooted in caste and colorism, but buried under hospitality slogans. And our leaders, well, they say nothing, right? They ask, why did he go there? Instead of, why did they hurt him? It's one thing to be powerless. It's another thing to pretend it's normal. See, let's call it out, right? The global system doesn't expect us to defend our people, not even our own citizens. But we can change that. It starts with raising the price of disrespect. See, while Mali is being pressured, Niger is doing something different. In June of 2025, 80 Nigerian students graduated from a Russian language and science program, preparing to study abroad in, right? They're basically preparing to study in engineering, chemistry, physics, and computer science. Now, why does does this matter? Because for the first time in a long time, young Africans are being trained in hard sciences, not just aid management. We can't depend on a system that never respected us. We must build new systems, right? New systems of knowledge, of medicine, of communication. The students in Niger aren't just learning, right? They aren't just learning Russian. They're learning how to decode power, how to build labs instead of waiting for lectures. We've spoken English and French for decades, right? Where did that get us? Maybe, right? Maybe now is the time we speak the language of self-determination, right? Here's the truth. This isn't about Mali. It's not about India. It's not about India. It's about all of us. If we don't protect our people across borders, control our own scientific growth, rewrite our global relationships, then our youth will always be hostages, not to rebels, but to a rigged system. So what should we do? Well, one, establish a continental rescue protocol. No African should go missing without a Pan-African response. Two, we must invest in African science, not just degrees, but in labs, satellites, hydrology, and defense technology. We must rebuild trust amongst ourselves because today it's Mali, tomorrow it's Kenya. If we don't act as one, we fall alone. We must also honor the Gaddafi blueprint, not just worship a man, but to honor a roadmap. That's why they ignore your pain. That's why they ignore our pain. But when we speak loud, united, and grounded in truth, they listen, they panic, they scheme. So don't fold, don't flinch, and don't wait for anyone to tell your story. We don't need approval, we need action. When one African is taken, the whole continent should move. When one country is insulted, every capital should respond. Because until we treat each other like we matter, no one else will. So stay sharp, stay sovereign, and stay unshakable.